Yo, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be reading Chapter 2 of Learning How to Live Again, Am I Truly Worth It? By nstlgia. Here's the summary. Izuku kind of discussed emotions. And notes? In all the Aizawa fics I've read, Aizawa either takes his coffee super sweet or black. No in between. Which ideology do you subscribe to? Hello, this is mid-recording, pre-editing, Goldwings42 here, and I apologize for the dramatic change in quality partway through this episode. My family got home, so I decided to go outside rather than record inside because, this fic isn't exactly kid-friendly, and I have siblings. So, the spot I'm in right now, I'm going to affectionately call my bucket seat back alley recording location. So that's fun. And you can really hear that road noise. And quite possibly the bee. So, yeah, sorry if the change in quality and background noise bothers you. Episode 3 will probably be in my primary recording location in its entirety. I just don't really want to stop recording partway through. So, yeah, sorry about that. Alright, Chapter 2. Izuku woke to the sound of buzzing. Groggily opening his eyes, he blinked as he remembered where he was. His room commanded focus, as did a lot of other things. His empty stomach, his aching limbs, and a major headache. He glances at the alarm clock on his nightstand, which read 19:27. Right, something buzzed? His phone. Izuku leaned over the side of his bed to grab his bag, rummaging through it until he found his phone. He pulled it out, but when he turned it on, there were no notifications. Oh, it was probably from his burner. Searching his bag again, he pulled out the small flip phone he kept on him. It was what he used for vigilante work, but really, it was used to pester Eraserhead and Detective Tsukauchi. What day was it? He checked the date. Oh, it was Monday. Had he really slept for 2 days? The messages from Eraserhead started from Saturday night. You actually took my advice and stayed home. Should I celebrate? Izuku rolled his eyes and kept checking them, most concerned about his well-being and why he wasn't patrolling. The most recent one from the hero was about 2 hours old. Seriously, if you're not in a dish somewhere, I will kill you. So dramatic. He typed out a response. Aw, you missed me. How sweet. I'm fine. No need to worry. Just as he was about to switch to Tsukauchi's chat, Ray said I had already sent another message. Clingy much? Hardly. Next time answer the first time. Will do. Izuku sighed and went to Tsukauchi's chat finally. Just one message that read, Kid, are you alive? Did this mean Eraserhead went to Tsukauchi about him? Or did he just get significantly less reports about a rogue vigilante roaming the streets? Yeah, it was probably the latter. Alive and kickin', don't throw a party just yet. He didn't respond right away, probably because he had a job and a life. Izuku put his phone away, but he didn't get up. What was rotting in bed for a few more hours anyway? Unfortunately, he did have bodily needs. After great reluctance, he pushed himself out of bed. He was immediately dizzy, and he had to balance himself against the wall. Once the dark spots faded from his vision, he went to the bathroom. Seeing his mom's things gone brought back his painful reality. She left him. It changed a lot of things. Well, killing himself would technically be easier. His mom wouldn't have to clean up the mess or go through the process of pretending to care about her dead son now. He could be left in obscurity until the landlord realized nobody lives here anymore. But did he want to involve random people? Probably not. He could just disappear, then kill himself. Not like anyone would go looking for him. Sure, Eraserhead may text him a few times, but he'd get over it. Probably feel relief that he didn't have to look after him all the time. This could track his way to death. He wouldn't have to wait for it to come to him. However, Izuku was nothing if not a coward. He did try killing himself already. Twice. He couldn't do it. The first time was after Bakugou told him to jump off a roof. When the bullies left, he made his way to the school rooftop and stared down at the street alone. Really, it could have been that easy. Then he hesitated, and his impulse wavered. It was also broad daylight. He didn't want to traumatize others. The second time was when Almond left him on that rooftop after thrashing his spirits. He felt he had nothing left to live for in that moment, so he stepped onto the ledge. However, the same reason as before stopped him. He didn't want to accidentally fall on someone. Plus, what if he miscalculated the fall and only ended up breaking a few bones instead of dead? How embarrassing. That's when he realized he may have to rely heavily on pure chance. Fighting villains was no safe task, just wrong one hit, and he could get what he wanted. If he miraculously stayed alive by next year, though, he would have to do it. This was a way of delaying the inevitable, if only to give himself the courage to end his life. And of course, the very, very small hope of things actually getting better, because who didn't want that? Hope, a paradoxically strong and fickle thing. This wasn't making things any easier. He repulsed his own mom so much that she left. That was surely one way to bring down someone's self-esteem, am I right? Izuku trudged into the kitchen after freshening up. He had ingredients for ramen, so he managed to make that. He ate, scrolling through the news feed on his phone, and wondered if he felt up to patrolling tonight. Maybe terrorizing Eraserhead would distract him enough to not think of what happened 2 days ago. Making a decision, Izuku stood up, stretching his arms and putting away the dishes. He still had a few hours until he technically went out, so he could relax for now. Though, where was the fun in that? He also didn't think he could stay too long in this apartment either, so he decided to go to Dagobah Beach for a few hours instead. Izuku had decided last year to start cleaning up the trash that was left on the beach. It was something to do, and it definitely helped him build some muscle and endurance. Plus, he found some pretty useful things in there sometimes. He wore his vigilante outfit, not because he thought he'd be recognized down here, but because the mask would protect him from some of the stench that still wafted through the beach. Spending a few hours cleaning and training, he checked the time in his thermometer. Almost midnight. Perfect. Izuku made his way through the city, keeping to the shadows and alleyways. He wished he had a capture weapon like Eraserhead's to swing himself from rooftop to rooftop. It would make things so much easier. Thinking if he could possibly make his own capture weapon, he climbed onto the building he always started his patrol at. It was a good spot to get a substantial view of everything. Usually, Eraserhead would also come around, knowing Izuku was here. Ever since their agreement, he forced himself not to worry about being caught, so he sat on the edge, of course, waiting. It only took a few minutes. "Long time no see, right?" Izuku called out, notifying the hero that he knew he was there. Eraserhead didn't say anything, nor did he comment about him being close to the edge this time. When Eraserhead still didn't speak, Izuku glanced at him over his shoulder, confused. Got your tongue or something?" Izuku said, then shut his mouth. Oh, he looked mad. Izuku frowned and stood away from the ledge. What was he so upset about? After a few minutes of a staring contest between them, which Izuku won, by the way, Eraserhead spoke, his voice gruff. "I thought I told you to message me if you didn't plan on going out, Shadow." That was 2 full nights of radio silence. Yeah, not exactly his fault, but what could he really say? "Well, Eraserhead, I didn't answer because my mom left me, so now I'm living on my own for 2 months until I figure out some way to get money to rent the apartment, and I passed out for 2 days because of pure stress and depression." Maybe not. Izuku shrugged, forcing casualness. "I was busy. I have a life, you know. I don't make a living off frolicking through the nights and occasionally taking down criminals. I have hobbies." Eraserhead gave him a deadpan stare. "Well, next time, make room in your busy schedule to send a text or two." He saluted him with 2 fingers. "Yes, sir." The hero rolled his eyes, but his shoulders were slightly less tense. What a softie. And just because a recovered girl healed you doesn't mean you can be reckless. We're trying to not get you to that point again, understand? Eraserhead continued. Izuku rolled his shoulders back. Yeah. Are you done?" As he was leaving, Captain Robin squeezed around his stomach, and he was brought closer to Eraserhead. Izuku tensed. "Whoa, what's that for?" "Do you understand?" Eraser repeated, voice hard. "I understand," Izuku exclaimed, struggling against the scarf. Eventually, Eraserhead let him go. Izuku took several steps back, trying to hide his anxiousness. "Was that really necessary?" Izuku grumbled, but the hero didn't answer him. Typical. His night went on as normal, and thankfully it took his mind off his mom for at least the few hours he was out there. It reminded him why he pursued this route for himself in the first place. Saving people, feeling like he was making some kind of difference, even if it was small, made it worth it. Almost like he was leaving his mark before he died. Eraserhead and Tsukauchi can think if he was doing this for whatever reason, because he was reckless, impulsive, a rebellious teenager. It didn't matter. As long as he wasn't being arrested, he was fine with it. And well, most importantly, they couldn't find out he was quirkless. Then it was over. He carried these somber thoughts on the way back to the apartment. At least now he didn't have to worry about waking his mom. He could walk in through the front door. That was the bright side to this after all. Even though he hadn't thought about the apartment since leaving, his mind was racing now. How was he going to stay here? Should he stay here, find somewhere cheaper? He didn't need all this space. Maybe he could do some apartment searching elsewhere. However, the most important step was finding a way to obtain a steady income. A job was his best bet, but to be able to afford a whole apartment, he would need to work all day. Honestly, Izuku wasn't opposed to quitting school together, despite his official transcript that most likely said he was just about failing. Izuku knew he was smart enough to go on without it. Or was that too cocky of him to say? It's not like he would be missing anything. No more bullying, being told he was useless, classmates telling him to kill himself. How tragic. The next obstacle was having to find someone who would hire him for a full-time position without too much suspicion. He could always ask Kiramura. She seemed kind enough to help him, but he couldn't rely on that. Izuku groaned as he flopped onto the couch. He didn't even have the energy to walk to his room. He stared at the ceiling, sleep escaping him despite his exhaustion. He ended up falling asleep around 6 a.m., and he slept in quite late. Guess he was skipping school today, too. That was fine. He could jumpstart his job search. Izuku forced himself up in the morning and into a more appropriate clothes, a long-sleeved tee and black pants. He brought his phone and keys with him and slipped on into his shoes. It was the ones he also used for his patrols. The red shoes, the only brand that supported the extra toe and the quirkless people, were almost always a dead giveaway to his quirk status. Most of the Japanese population recognized them, so he bought another pair. He went a size higher so the shoe didn't completely crush his toe, but he still ended up being too big near the heel. He learned to get used to them. Since school was in session right now, he didn't bump into anyone he knew on the way. Opening the doors to the cafe, he immediately noticed Kiramura behind the counter, along with another woman that looked to be in her early 20s. She was the other employee Izuku occasionally saw working here. Kiramura looked up, a general greeting on her lips. Then she realized it was him. She broke into a kind smile. "Hey, darling, why aren't you in school right now?" she asked, her tone slightly scolding at the end. Izuku nervously smiled. Hi, Kiramura-san. Can I actually talk to you about something?" he asked, fidgeting. She looked confused and mildly concerned, but she nodded. Kiramura told her coworker to take over, and she led Izuku to a more discreet seating spot. "What did you want to talk about?" Izuku took a deep breath. "I was wondering if I could apply to work here full-time." "I would understand a part-time job, but full-time?" He had come with an answer for this. "My mom is a nurse and a single mother. She's been struggling a lot for the past few months to make ends meet, so I moved to online school to help her around the house. I wanted to work so I could stay and help her with bills and such. Staying on track at school won't be an issue." Izuku felt horrible lying, especially to Kiramura. She had been nothing but sweet to him since they met, and here he was, making up a lie to manipulate her into hiring him. Kiramura stayed silent for a while, her eyes roaming over Izuku's face. He kept a neutral expression, but he was worried. Did she see through his lie? Finally, she responded, "I'm sorry about your situation, dear, but I cannot offer you a full-time position. Not only is this too much for you to take on, but it's against the law." Izuku's shoulders sagged, and he was already mentally searching for another business he could ask for a job. "However," her voice cut through his thoughts, "I can offer you a part-time position if you're interested." He perked back up. It was a good start, and he knew he wouldn't get this offer so easily somewhere else. "Really?" "Of course, dear. I'm always looking to take on more employees. I trust that you are a quick learner and ready to work in a fast-paced environment." Izuku nodded enthusiastically. Of course, Kiramura-san, and I can start whenever you like." She smiled. "That's what I like to hear." After that, Kiramura set up a date for the training at the end of the week. She asked him for an email so she could contact him, which he gladly gave her. Izuku left the cafe, feeling lighter. Even though it was part-time, Izuku wasn't too worried at the moment. With the money he had saved for years and the money his mom gave him, with 2 months already paid in advance, he would hopefully, have a good chunk of income to use. He may have to sacrifice some indulgences, non-essential food and lattes, but he could do it. The goal promptly fell flat when he realized he needed to get groceries. The fridge was looking a little empty. With a sigh, he grabbed some money he would need. And only that, so he wouldn't be tempted to spend more. Izuku prepared himself for more social interaction, taking a deep breath before stepping out the door for the second time that day. It was closer to the end of school, which was a little worrying, but Izuku would be vigilant. He brought a reusable bag with him so he could easily carry anything he bought. The corner store was his first stop because he could usually get a few things for cheaper. Thankfully, it was pretty empty. Izuku picked up some instant ramen that he usually got from there, along with a box of protein bars. They usually kept him full throughout the day when he had nothing else. After he paid and left the door, he heard a loud meow, followed by some voices coming from the alley next to the store. Curious, Izuku walked over to see a small group of boys surrounding a small kitten. The kitten looked dirty, streaked with dirt and some dried blood. It was whimpering, cornered by the boys against the dump dirt. Izuku frowned, eyebrows furrowing in frustration. Seriously, how messed up do you have to be to go after a defenseless kitten? When one of them stepped towards the cat, Izuku hurried forward. Hey, leave it alone, he called out, and all three boys turned to face him. Well, this could either go very well or very wrong. The one who stepped forward had navy blue, curly hair and a glare. What's it to you? The boy said, crossing his arms. The fact that you're hurting an innocent kitten? Are you psychopaths? Maybe antagonizing a group of people who looked stronger than him was not the best idea. However, before anything could happen, a voice sounded from behind him. What's going on here? The voice was strangely familiar. He turned to look at whoever interrupted, and Izuku internally cursed, because it was Eraserhead. Because of course it was. Why was he all the way over here? Did he live nearby? Even though the man was in his civilian clothes, the scarf around his neck made it obvious, along with the long black hair. Good thing this guy was an underground hero. He'd be recognizable in an instant if he was limelight. Before Izuku could explain, the same guy from before scoffed. Apparently, Eraser, looking important enough for the boy to treat him as an authority figure. We were just messing around. He was being aggressive, the night hair accused, pointing at Izuku. Eraserhead eyes slimmed to him, but only for a moment, before his attention focused on the three and the small kitten, still cowering. Right, I'll deal with him then. The boys looked smug, giving pointed looks at Izuku as they left. Izuku sighed, the tension leaving him, and he placed his bag on the ground near the dumpster. Ignoring Eraserhead, he kneeled down from the kitten. He stayed a good distance away, trying to be as non-threatening as possible. Hey, it's okay now, he whispered, holding out a hand in front of him. Fortunately, the cat didn't run away immediately, but instead looked at him, pretty curious and partially terrified. However, the kitten didn't move forward anymore. Just when he thought Eraserhead had left already, the voice cut through the quiet. Try this, he said, and Izuku lifted his head to look at him, startled. In his hand was some sort of cat treat. Where the hell did he put that from? Sure, Izuku muttered, reaching a shaky hand to grab it. He turned and offered to the kitten, whose nose started twitching. Slowly, it inched forward, and Izuku left it just in front of him, where the kitten was standing. The kitten ate quickly, almost possessively, and when finished, came towards Izuku and nudged its head against his hand. Izuku couldn't help a small smile and petted the kitten softly, careful of the injuries. As much as Izuku would love to bring the kitten home with him, he could barely afford to care for himself with what he had. Paired with his plan and nighttime activities, he couldn't take care of the cat. His smile vanished at the reminder. How convenient that there was someone behind him who clearly loved cats. Izuku picked up the small kitten carefully and faced Eraserhead, who was, not particularly, still there. I can't, look after this cat, so here, Izuku said, holding kitten out to Eraser like an offering. Eraserhead stared at him for so long that Izuku thought he had said something completely different and imagined what he wanted to say. Eventually, the hero reached out and gently took the kitten from him. The kitten let out a mournful meow when it was taken from Izuku's hands, and he felt like a horrible person, but it was for the best. Are you sure? She seems pretty attached to you already, Eraserhead added. Izuku almost said no and snatched the kitten back, but he knew he couldn't. I'm sure, Izuku said reluctantly and went to grab his grocery bag from the dumpster. Not very healthy options you have there. Confused, he turned to face Eraserhead, who was still looking at the bag in his hands. Surprised by his audacity, Izuku became defensive. Not everyone can afford gourmet meals, he shot back sarcastically, without really thinking about it. Eraserhead's eyebrows raised in a slight shock, not expecting that response, but he didn't say anything, maybe apologetic. Or maybe Izuku imagined it because Eraserhead's expression was blank, like Izuku didn't say anything at all. It was definitely awkward now. He wasn't sure what else to say, and he wanted to go home. Well, thanks for taking care of her, I guess? Eraserhead didn't verbally respond, but he did nod, so he took that as a goodbye. Izuku quickly got out of there. He was nervous that he would somehow slip up and really give a shadow, but luckily that didn't happen. Izuku was planning on going to the actual grocery store for some ingredients to make some more filling food, but he was exhausted and done with human interaction for the day. He entered the apartment, kicking off his shoes, and left his bag on the counter. He didn't have the energy to put the ramen and bars away, so he went to sleep on the couch, wanting to forget the day and will his depressive thoughts to end. The rest of the week went fine. Eraserhead never mentioned to him as Shadow about the kitten, so Izuku really had no idea if he ended up keeping her or just leaving her at the vet. And Izuku didn't plan on running into him again as a civilian anytime soon, because that was too risky. He was also skipping school. He couldn't be bothered with going anymore. He just needed to create a fake note from his mother telling Aldera that he would be moving to online school. Not that Aldera would care, probably, just so nothing legal came about from it. His training day for the cafe came too soon. It was in the afternoon. He showed up early, and to his dismay, he could not find Kimura right away. It was the other woman who he saw when he came to ask for the job. He came up to the counter nervously. The woman smiled kindly and was about to ask for his order when he interrupted her, stumbling over his words. I'm actually here for my, training? Kimura-san told me to come here at this time. Oh, Midoriya, right? Sorry about that. Let me go get her. It'll be just a minute. Before Izuku could confirm, she was already walking into the back room. He waited patiently until Kimura emerged. Midoriya, here early. That's great. Do you want to get started or wait a few minutes? Kimura said, her tone cheerful. No, that's fine, Kimura-san. I can start now. Perfect. I'll show you the basics. And if you're up to it, you can try cashing out some customers with my guidance. Though, I'll let you know for now, I will have to leave in a few hours. One of my employees will be able to assist you. Izuku nodded. He knew he would have to interact with his now co-workers anyways, but he just hoped it went smoothly. Kimura did as she said, showing him how to make coffees, teas, smoothies, and other drinks they ordered. The pastries were easy. They were kept fresh and only needed to be heated if a customer asked. After that, Kimura went over to the technical stuff. Since he was new and young, she told him he didn't have to worry just yet about opening and closing the shop. Another experienced employee would always be there for that, and if not, then she would do it. Izuku expected to be tired after being on his feet consecutively for so long, but he thought he was doing fine. Eventually, Shinsou came in for his shift. Kimura informed him to guide Izuku through the rest of his training day. Shinsou didn't seem pleased, but not exactly annoyed, so there's that. Kimura told them goodbye, and Izuku was now standing by the register with Shinsou. It didn't seem like he was the one for small talk, so it was quiet. It was a little slow, but Izuku didn't mind it. That meant the people couldn't get mad at him for going slow, at least for today. He dreaded working during the morning rush. When no customers had been coming in for a while, Shinsou walked over to the coffee machine. Do you want one? Shinsou asked, and Izuku was surprised that he spoke to him. I didn't bring any money with me, he said lamely. Shinsou gave him a deadpan stare before returning to bring the coffee. Kimura-san lets us have a max of 2 free drinks per shift, and a couple pastries, though she's more lenient on those. Oh, then sure, thanks. Your usual? Shinsou asked. Izuku was surprised he actually remembered. He nodded. Shinsou handed it to him, and he took small sips. He could definitely see himself abusing this 2 free drink rule. Free coffee? Hell yeah! Suddenly, the cafe swung open, and in came a couple of loud boys. Izuku didn't recognize them, thankfully, but when they came up to the register, they clearly recognized Shinsou. Yo, look, the freak works here, one of them said, and the other snickered. Izuku frowned, glancing at Shinsou. His eyes twitched, but otherwise seemed unbothered. What can I get for you? Shinsou asked. Customer service voice activated. The boys were super obnoxious while ordering. They would order something, then change their mind halfway through and ask for something else entirely different. After the third time this happening, Shinsou said, It seems like you are unsure of what you want to order. Please come back when you're ready. They didn't seem happy that their attempt at antagonizing Shinsou wasn't working. Izuku had to hold and laugh at their clear frustration. Izuku took care of making their drinks when Shinsou supervision. Once they were given their order and thankfully left without a word, he turned to face the purple-haired boy. "Those guys sucked," Izuku commented. Shinsou shrugged. "You get used to it after a while. Society doesn't treat those with villainous quirks lightly," he said bitterly, but sort of expectantly. He was intentionally looking for Izuku's response to that information. Villainous quirks? I don't think quirks can be inherently villainous. It's your actions that really matter. They're clearly not acting heroic. I'm sure that's easy for you to say. You probably have some flashy, strong quirk or something. Izuku's expression shuddered, and he turned away. Right. Something in his tone must have changed, because Shinsou looked at him appraisingly, though, and he didn't ask further. Being reminded of his quirkless status, even if it was unintentional, left a sick feeling in his gut. Which is better, some random person he would be in constant close proximity with, assuming he had a quirk, a strong one at that, or telling him he was quirkless. He simply didn't feel like talking anymore. Luckily, he didn't have to for long. His shift was coming to an end. He didn't bring anything with him, just his key, so he said a cordial goodbye to Shinsou, with a great start to his first day of employment. Got some endnotes to the chapter here. Shouta. Look, a new addition to our family. Hizashi. We literally have 2 cats already. Shouta. And? You want to say no to this face? Kidding. Hizashi. Okay, fine. And that's chapter 2, y'all. I know this recording was a little different, and, yeah, sorry about that. I got bloopers, though. My cat came in and said hello to me while I was recording out here, so that's nice. So, yeah, thanks for listening. This has been Goldthings42, reading chapter 2 of Learning How to Live Again, Am I Truly Worth It, by nstlgia, over on AO3, and here are the bloopers. So hello, Georgie. Hello. Yes, hi. I know I'm in a weird spot, aren't I? Yes, hello. Yeah? I know there's nothing up there, is there? Just my water bottle.